Welcome back. We're continuing our discussion with the founder of Liberty Coalition Canada, Michael Thiessen. Michael, please pick up where you left off just before break.
Yeah, what I was going to say is that we had the privilege early on, a number of us pastors, a number of us individuals who were inquiring, probably similar to yourself, Tanya, to receive legal counsel. So the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedom, we asked them to come in and inform us on what was going on. And we had the privilege, we're going to talk to James later on. We had the privilege of meeting him and just learning from him all of the constitutional violations. That happened way back in June 2020.
Right.
So many of us were facing real odds locally, as we all were, family, church, occupation, everything. But we received legal counsel and were just flabbergasted by the level of violations going on against Canadians right from day one of the pandemic.
So what did you, and yes, we will speak with your chief litigator, but what did you see as some of the more egregious violations during COVID?
Well, the first thing that we learned about was just how the government was ignoring freedom of information inquiries. So when the Constitution puts its limitations on our human rights, there has to be demonstrable evidence. So immediately the Constitutional Center, Justice, the JCCF, started asking for, let's see your evidence. Like that's public information. If you are restricting our rights, let's see your evidence. And we heard very early on.
Prove to me that you need to lock us down. Prove to me that we need to do this violation of our rights in order to, for what? They have to prove it, correct?
Right. The onus is on the government. It's not on us to prove that we need to be free people.
Yes, exactly.
And so the government was just ignoring these freedom of information inquiries all along. The second thing that I became really aware of really quick, and we're going to talk about the churches, but I have a son who's a cancer survivor. I have a daughter who has a spina bifida. We've been journeying with the medical community for years. And immediately, places like Sick Kids writing an article one week that says kids don't need to wear masks. And then About Facing just weeks later, now requiring our children who are going to the hospital to wear masks. That is that is alarming. Wow. You do not have reviewed peered studies changing their minds in 3 weeks or whenever the turnaround was. So it was these things that we started seeing in the medical community, these real inconsistencies. And then, of course, the locking down of the churches. Tanya, I know you're a Catholic believer in the Lord Jesus Christ, and I'm a Reformed Baptist guy. We believe in the resurrection of the dead. So if the world's worst plague is upon us, the church wants to be free to go out and give people the real hope of the resurrection. And it was like everybody I knew was forgetting that was the task of the church in times of real trouble.
And at the end of the day, it didn't really matter what I believed. There are enshrined rights for religious freedoms in our charter. So a government cannot just willy-nilly suspend them. As you said, there has to be demonstrable proof that there's something afoot that it needs to be suspended.
Yeah, absolutely. And so those rights are in our Constitution. We're thankful for those fundamental freedoms, and they were ignored from day one. And that was a real concern for me, specifically because I want our church to be a refuge to the community, and I want my voice to be a voice that proclaims the Lord Jesus. And in a time of real fear, freedom is essential for you to be able to minister to other people. We had great organizations observing that not only the limits of going to church on Sunday was limiting and harmful for people, but when you stop allowing people to visit seniors in these communities, you're basically imprisoning them. And when you're stopping people from going and loving their neighbor by actively bringing them food or checking up on them, and you're deceiving them to be so scared of one another, these things are just obvious problems that if you've got your eyes to see and your ears to hear, it's pretty clear.
Okay, we're going to bring in James just after the commercial break. We have about 15 seconds really quickly. So how big's your organization now?
The organization is nationwide. We've got a tremendous amount of support. Our podcast gets a number of few thousand views every time we go on, and we try to share our concerns. And about 200 churches, 300 churches.